So, what did you think about the sex?
My body did something that it doesn't normally do, so it was definitely a good experience for me. I was a little shocked because I was like, I've never done that before.
You talking about the grippy thing?
Yes, that was scary.
And that was when I was holding at the end, like when I would press at the end?
Yes, precisely.
Okay. Like when I was holding, and then there would be like a moment of silence, and then I would feel it close on me, and you'd be like, ooh.
Yeah,
like
yes. I do remember those moments. So it was like I would feel it, it would build up, and then it would just like release.
Okay. That shit made me come.
Is it? But like we did at the same time because I was like, because that last little, that was it for me.
All right, Storm Chasers, I have a very familiar face. I know you guys have seen him on Twitter, Tumblr, OF, Loyal Fans, Instagram. And you may be like, where do I know that guy from? Well, today he has his clothes on. 100 Days of Summer, aka the Stroke Genius. Man, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, man.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. So
yeah, my name is 100 Days of Summer on Instagram and other platforms. I also go by the Stroke Genius. What I pretty much do is teach men how to give women vaginal orgasms, how to make women squirt, how to perform oral correctly, things like that. I haven't necessarily gotten into the communication aspect yet, but I will be getting into that because women have been asking me to talk more about that. And also like the foreplay aspects and things like that. I teach financial independence. I teach like how to astral project and lucid dream, all that stuff too. But the main theme of my page has been teaching men how to give women vaginal orgasms. And I have like I started off just teaching it, and then people asked me for demonstration videos. So now I have women that volunteer to actually be the muse of the video that I make have the orgasms and squirt and stuff like that. And then I'll teach what I'm doing step by step, you know, after the process or whatever.
And just for everybody in the chat that's watching this once it premieres, I actually found the Stroke Genius here about a year and a half ago. And we were supposed to interview then, but then I followed this journey on OF and Twitter and all that. And honestly, because I was trying to learn from myself, I'm like, you can give me the tip, let me know. Because for me personally, I always feel like as a man, you are expected to know what you're doing in the bedroom. Don't no woman want to be no teacher.
Nah.
They don't no woman want to feel like, damn, this nigga don't know what he doing. And believe me, after you finish, she's gonna call the nigga that knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
She will. And so you go through a whole bunch of stuff on your page. Let me ask you first, how did you get started in this line of work?
Well, when I was around like 13, I think it was, I kind of became curious then because there was a woman at my high school, actually, she was a senior and she was going to take my virginity. So I wanted to make sure I'm feeling like she's probably the most experienced woman in the world or whatever. So I'm like, I really want to understand. And at that time, the most important thing to me was like lasting. But my mom had these books. They were like some old dusty ass books, like an anatomy book and one that was specifically on pleasure. So it was talking about like the G-spot and stuff like that. But the information was, I had no experience, so it was nothing to really attach it to, you know. So that was kind of like the beginning of it. But I just read that stuff over and over again because I wanted to ace my test, you know, when that came. And then she ended up getting in a car accident and she stayed out of school, so I never got to see her. But that kind of sparked my curiosity. And then, I mean, years and years and years later, I tried like I learned about the A spot. I can never remember exactly when, because I love like being able to understand the milestones, but I can't remember exactly when I found that. But I knew that it was about the back of the vagina. So there was a time when I was having sex and that's what I focused on. And I asked the woman if she came at the end, and she was like, if you can believe it, I came twice. So that was kind of like, oh shit, maybe it's something to this, you know.
Yeah.
And then there was another time after that where I pretty much kind of did the same thing. I was just trying to last longer. So I was just staying in and going deep. And the girl said, she had sent me a text like, I can't be thinking about your dick all day while I'm at work. And I'm like, what you talking about? She was like, yeah, the first time we linked up, I came 9 times. The second time, 13 times. And that's when I'm like, okay, nah, it's something to this. You
It's
know?
something to this. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I wasn't deliberate. I wasn't necessarily doing it intentionally. So then I had to seek, how can I do this intentionally, like almost on demand or at will, you know? So that's when I started trying to actually do like learn more information. And I started retroactively hitting up like old partners and saying like, you know, when you said you was about to come, like, where was I hitting? What spot was that, to see if they even knew, you know? But most of them didn't even understand it. So they would just say, it felt like, it's like every time you hit that spot, it felt like I was about to come. But that's as much as they could give me. So then I knew I needed to actually kind of go out and start experimenting to kind of figure that shit out. It's all right if I cuss on you?
Yeah. No, you good, man. You good. So for me, I will say, you say you were 13?
When I first started, yeah.
You were 13. Dude, when I was 13, this chick named, her name was Tana. I still remember her. I don't remember her last name. But she wanted to have sex, and of course it kind of, you start getting nervous. You're like, oh my god, I want to, you know. It never happened either for me, but but it awakens something. Now when I think back, I remember finding tapes, VHS tapes, for the kids that don't know what those are. My dad and my uncle had these tapes called like Better Sex. They were like, it was a bunch of white couples, and it would go from scene to scene, and they would show all the different positions, how to position a woman for it was literally like what you do, but back in like the early 2000s.
Okay.
And I think it's an actual institute, like Better Sex Institute, something like that. Okay. And it's just interesting how people don't understand that it's not just about pounding. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times us men, we learn that from porn, and then because so many girls watch porn now too, because it's so readily available, they even think, yeah, you're supposed to pound me out, like that's what I like, but it's actually not. So I want you to break down real quick. In the actual vagina itself, you have the G spot, the A spot, and what else?
And the P spot. The P spot is basically the other side of the A spot. So the G spot, you know, is pretty much right behind the clit. If you go in,
as soon as you go in,
yeah, if you go in, there's going to be you're going to kind of be going up against the pelvic bone. There's going to come a time where you can pass the bone and go up like this. And so
it feels knobby. It feels knobby.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the edge of that bone with the soft tissue on it.
Gotcha.
So that from it depends on the woman. It can kind of start at the beginning and go all the way up. All that is rough in a sense, or ridged for the purpose of contact. So it's supposed to be there for stimulation. And then when you go past that area there, pretty much up in this area here where you can kind of hook your finger onto it and where you can hook your finger onto it and swipe like this. That's going to be the G spot, that whole area.
Got it.
You know what I mean? And that's going to be pretty much behind where the clitoris is, behind the clitoris up to the clitoral hood. It should feel like you're somewhere behind there.
It feel like, man, they start squirting immediately when you start playing with them. Okay, so the G spot, and then what's next in the vaginal canal?
Next is the A spot. In order to find the A spot, like if this was the vagina, if this was the beginning, back here would be where the cervix is, like this little hump here, let's just say. So you pretty much, you go back until you feel that hump, which would really be like down here, and then you go up to the ceiling. So right in this part here, right before you get to the cervix, that's where the A spot begins at.
That little part like that.
Yeah. Because like where the cervix is, the way the cervix is, where it starts at, kind of like a little behind it. It's like a little crease or whatever behind it, where the cervix kind of meets the vaginal skin, I guess you would call it. Okay. So it attaches back there from that point all the way up to the front of the cervix, pretty much. That's where because there's another bone there too. I think that might be the pubic bone or pelvic bone as well, but there's like another bone there too. But pretty much from that part up is the A spot. And then the reverse of that on the other side is the P spot. They're pretty much the exact same thing. It's just one, the A is for anterior, and the P is for posterior. So they're pretty much the exact same area.
Got it. And I personally have. The man is not lying. The man is not lying. Like he's just not. And so, dude, even the trick of when you penetrate and you press against, or you pressing against the cervix just to hold it, or you pressing against the A spot.
Well, pressing against the A spot. Sometimes I press directly against that spot. Sometimes I press the whole thing, like I press up against the entire thing and just hold it. Okay. Yeah, because you can do the same thing with your fingers too. If you was fingering, you could just hold against the spot too. But yeah,
and it just seems like it just. Anyway, the women go crazy. The women go crazy.
It's counter.
Like you get tight too, and then
yeah.
Sometimes, and it's weird, man, because sometimes a woman's vagina, when it's stimulated correctly, it's like it has a mind of its own. Like sometimes it'll literally start to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Now, is that by nature to pull in the semen towards the cervix? Why it pulsates?
Yeah, that's what the theory is, that it pulsates that way in order to contract the semen into the cervix.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. I've had women say they can feel their reproductive system contracting when I'm stimulating those spots. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It really, really is. I want to back up a little bit.
Okay.
Because I got to give you pushback, because if I don't, they'll say, y'all cool. That's why you ain't asking them the questions. You follow them on social media. I got to ask you the real questions. All right.
Okay.
So men that see this are going to say, the only reason why he can do that is because he's well endowed. So can you speak to men that are average and below average? Because ladies, despite what y'all want to say, every man is not packing. That's just not realistic. So can any man, regardless of his size, give a woman an orgasm, stimulator, etc.?
Actually, yes. And I'm happy to say that, because I get that question a lot. A lot of men ask me that, like, well, what about if I'm only like 5 inches or whatever? To be honest with you, even on my actual pages, like my OnlyFans and Loyal Fans, I have a conversation I'm having with the girl where she's like, the men that use the technique, like she showed them my technique and they both were able to make her have a vaginal orgasm, were only about 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah.
And she says that helps because they don't really go past the spot like men that are longer or more well endowed. They hit the spot. I had another woman say that there was a guy she was having sex with and he was only long enough to hit her G spot. So when she rode him, she was squirting and coming all the time. But he was the only man to ever make that happen because he didn't go past the spots. He was hitting the spots directly, even if he didn't want to.
That's about 2 inches, because the G spot is 1.25 inches deep, right?
Yeah. I would say 3 inches because she had some thighs on it. You know what I mean? So yeah, a little bit to get past. But
BBW. All right.
So I think it's actually the opposite of what men really and women really think, because I mean most women don't even know where the spots are exactly, and they're not necessarily telling the guy, hey, aim for the spots. They're most of the time accepting being pounded out. So it's not like, you know, the size thing is based off of accurate sex. You know what I'm saying? It's part of the fantasy, the visual fantasy for
it is. It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. And I can even say from personal experience of being in many sex clubs, many swingers parties. That's my past, y'all. I'm saved now. The really, really large men, a lot of times you see the woman, because they're usually aggressive as hell. Because they can be. It's just one of them things. But they usually, when they're getting pounded out, they're like, the woman is like this. Her body locks.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's pleasure, but then you can tell, like, no, you're in pain. Like so you definitely have a point on that. It seems to be girth matters more than length.
That's what women say, yeah, for sure.
From what I've seen, but I've seen men that are not well endowed make a woman come like crazy in sex clubs. So
yeah, I mean, I tell every guy, they like, how thick do I have to be? I'm like, well, you see me do that shit with my finger, you know. So you know what I'm saying? It's like it's only 3.5 inches and it's this thick. So that's probably all you need for real to do it all.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I wanted to move on a little bit and ask you how much of sex is an actual act, and then how much is mental? How much of it is mental?
I think, well, I was going to say, I think for women it's more mental, but honestly, I think it's mental for guys too, as far as like the visual aspect. I think that's still, it still resonates mentally. But I think for women, it's more mental because it's not being done right a lot of the time, you know, or there are certain things because men are kind of ignorant to how it's supposed to be done. Maybe like, so for example, like in comparison, like a guy that doesn't come from head, you know, when I'm getting head from a chick and it ain't hitting, I'm in my head critiquing, and that's kind of keeping me out my body. You know what I mean?
Man, stop preaching up here, man.
And it's the same thing with women where they're going through those experiences. A lot of times they'll be critiquing the guy on what they're not doing right. You know, like they're too rough, or when they're eating, they're not hitting the clit, or they're doing the clit wrong, or they're doing something like that, and they're in their head critiquing because they don't really feel comfortable maybe saying it out loud. So that keeps them from being connected. Or
But
the
why
fact,
is that? Why don't they want to see? I feel like they want us to just kind of know, but it's like, damn, we gotta learn it from somewhere first. It's kind of like the chicken or the egg, you know?
yeah, no, true. That's true. But it's from the way women have expressed it to me is that it can have deeper implications into the relationship. So everything else in the relationship can be cool, and then you say that one thing, and now they're treating you different altogether. Sometimes it can get violent,
Okay,
and
fair.
you know what I mean. Then there's the who would want to ever express that, and then the person hears it, but then just ignores it and continues to do what they want to do. That creates a whole different situation, you know. So a lot of the times they're afraid to express themselves in that sense because of that. Also, I was told by a woman, Malance, on Instagram. She said that she was told that there's a chemical released in the brain too during that time when a woman that makes it harder for her to speak. So I
Is
think
that either oxytocin or serotonin or dopamine?
I'm not sure. I don't think she said the name. I don't
Okay.
think she said the name, but it makes me wonder because I know that those are released during that time, but it makes them, I guess, more docile in a sense. So it's harder for them to kind of speak up and assert themselves in those moments.
Okay, fair enough. Because we also still have to understand that we're primal by nature, and the act of sex, like the purpose of it, is procreation. There's also pleasure, but it's really procreation. So I got
Right.
it. I get it. Okay, so it's a safety thing. By the way, ladies, if you're not in a safe relationship, please get out of that relationship
Mhm.
as soon as you can. Um, you know what thought just came in my head too, bro?
What's that?
I'm like, somebody need to make a movie off of you, because I could like I could almost see like you being a guy that like comes to the what they call them, bridal parties, what are they called, bridal shower, anyway, before women get married, and like you give her her last fucking smash before she
Are you talking about the
you,
bachelorette party?
that's right, yes, you like you fulfill the fantasy and everything before, or like the couple comes to see you and you teach them like, okay, this is what you do so that they have a
That's
successful
safer. That's a bit safer. The second one is a little safer.
Oh man, because literally in Atlanta, there was this Asian dude who did like energy work.
Okay.
Uh, and you know, all the chakra. I'm not super familiar with all the correct terms,
Mm.
but that was kind of like what he did with a lot of the housewives. He would be doing
Oh,
energy work, but then sexually helping them too. Or
yeah.
maybe it was all a scam and he was just fucking. Who
Yeah,
knows?
they be touching the spiritual G spot, like they be rubbing the body. Yeah,
And a woman be like, ah.
right.
He like, okay, I gotta see that in person.
Right. Yeah, I guess.
So let me ask you too, man. As far as the male is concerned, there are a lot of men who, as you just said, they're not getting good head. Women really don't know how to give good head.
Hmm.
I've even noticed like women can't even give a good hand job. Cause and I get it, because they don't have a penis. Now, shout out to Devil Hands Mo. She makes content where she shows. You make content where you show it. But like, let's start with the hand job. How would a woman give a man a proper hand job?
First, who is that you mentioned? And are they open to collaborating? Because
yeah, Devil Hands Mo. Yeah, you should hit her up. She's healing from she's got her titties done.
okay.
But she literally made black hand jobs popular on Twitter, on the internet. It was single-handedly her doing it to Clean Ping Eugene.
Okay.
And they made that shit so popular that now like I'm seeing it like Brazzers is like really focusing on hand jobs now. Okay. She don't get her credit, but you should do it. It would be big.
All right, that'd be dope. Okay, so you asked me how they should do it.
Yeah. How did she give a hand job?
Well, I always teach that.
I'm gonna drop down real quick. Be right back. Go. Okay. Keep talking.
All right. I always teach that women should focus on the spot. Not so if this is the head and this is the helmet, you know, where the ridge would be at, women should focus on the spot pretty much like right underneath the head. I don't know what it's called, like the frenulum or something like that, but this is the part that actually has sensitivity and stimulation. I call it the G spot of the dick. So that's the spot women typically miss and somehow accidentally hit sometimes when they're giving head. But I don't think I've ever ran into any woman that was purposely doing it. Like her technique might hit it, but I've never run into a woman that knew exactly what she was doing when she was doing it. You know?
Gotcha. And I will say that's correct, because even when men masturbate, like, yeah, you stroke the whole shaft in the head, but you really focus right below the head.
Exactly, yeah. And I didn't realize that my whole life. I was like 32 when I found that shit out. I'm like, damn, I never realized it was just this spot.
It's crazy. It's really just that spot, especially if you're trying to go ahead and finish an orgasm and take yourself over the edge. Yeah. That's the spot. Also, ladies, invest in this right here. Y'all see it? I had to go get it. Invest in this right here. Let me come to the camera. Invest in this right here. All right.
You got that shot the kitchen too, because that's the cooking one. That's the cooking one. I know that one. That's the cooking one.
I literally haven't went back. I haven't went back. Like, I think it was a while back. I might have went on I think it was a 2-man situation. It was some kind of group thing. But anyway, somebody popped one of these out and then they nuked that bitch. Oh my god.
They put it in the microwave?
Briefly.
I was about to say that shit get hot fast.
Briefly.
Okay.
Briefly.
Yeah.
But it was just anyway, you know, as far as lube goes, you know, you got your different types, you know, you got your Astroglide that's set in the third, but that coconut oil.
Yeah, it should be hitting. Now you got to get the unrefined though, because the unrefined still smells like coconut.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So focus up under the head, and then what else should they do for good hand jobs?
You gotta pay attention to the balls. You gotta touch, rub, you know, affirm. Like I did a session with this girl Ayana Kelly, and I mean the way she was talking to me, I'm like, wow. This is amazing. And she put herself in a place to be authentic with what she was saying. You know, so I had known her. I had a session with her before. We've talked on Instagram for probably like years. So it was authentic where she was coming from in that space or whatever, but she was digging down into that place and speaking to me as she was doing that shit. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know I was going to like this shit that much. Like, I've never needed a woman to talk to me when doing that. So I never knew that, you know, that was a thing that I would actually enjoy. But goodness gracious, I love it.
Was that the lady with like the reddish hair?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That woman's a goddess. That's all that woman's a god. And I'm telling you, she got a second throat. I keep telling people it's a second throat. This
Man.
part, when they know how to use that part right here,
Yeah, and she does. Yeah.
She. Yeah. I was like, damn, where's she located? Like, drop her. Oh man, but okay, so focus on the ball. You know what I noticed too? Either women are too rough with the balls, or they don't want to touch them at all.
Yeah, I can understand why they wouldn't want to touch them at all, because it's a sensitive thing, because, oh my God, I think 9 out of 10 women be too rough, at least at one point. At least it's like they get comfortable and then they just forget what they touching, and then yeah. But I've had maybe 2 women who did that shit, like, well, shit, that's oral, but at one woman specifically that sucked my balls so well that I could have came from that shit. Yeah. Yeah.
Ain't God good.
For real. For real.
But I will say this to be fair for the ladies. I think for men out there, they have to make sure that they manscape. Like,
yeah, that too. Yeah.
First off, shower. Like, a lot of
Yeah.
dudes don't understand. Like, your balls get sweaty. Your balls are right by the perineum, right by the anus. So don't no woman want to put balls in their mouth or touch them if they smell like shit. We just got, like, I didn't know so many grown men don't know how to wipe their ass. So that's
fair. Real. That's real. And also, fellas, get some wet wipes. Get the Cottonelle wet wipes. I was going to promote the dude wipes, but the Cottonelle got the actual flushable seal on there. It's been verified by the Wastewater Management Institute of America or some shit like that. But wipe your ass with wipes. Now, if of course, they prefer that you would get in the shower. If you want to rush, man, wipe your ass with wipes. The women compliment me every time they walk in my bathroom, whether it's a hotel, my apartment, whatever. They see them wipes on the toilet, they instantly feel safe and sanitized in that motherfucker, or sanitary.
And that's the thing about women, man. Once they know you clean, you're hygienic, they'll get nasty as fuck.
Yeah,
you just drop the guard down. And me, I was raised the wipe in the shower, and of course, baby wipes too. Yeah. I think getting off the toilet and getting right in the bed is diabolical. That's just foul as fuck.
Because they believe the tissue. They believe the tissue. When the tissue got nothing on it, the wipes will show you different.
Yes.
Yeah. Don't believe the tissue.
And I like to tell people, imagine taking mud, rubbing it on your arm, and then just taking paper towel or paper and just wipe it off.
Yeah.
Like, come on, y'all. You use your brain.
It's just science.
Now, what's the connection between nipple play for men and being able to orgasm? Because I know for women their nipples can be sensitive, but I found even for myself, nipple play will edge me off quicker a lot of times than anything else.
Okay. See, I'm one of those guys with dead nipples, so I can't say.
Oh,
yeah,
shit.
Women will be doing that. They'll be like, "How's that feel?" Nothing. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, for me, it I don't have an effect from it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I know for women that they've said that stimulating the nipples, they can feel it in their clit. I'm a little jealous of that. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah.
Wait. They said they can stimulate the nipples. They can feel it in their clit.
In their clit, yeah.
What?
I don't know why it's connected. I have no idea. But yeah, stimulate the nipples, and they say they can feel it in their clit. Not every woman, but when I surveyed it, the majority of the women said that they could.
That's wild.
I know. I didn't know that, so I started, incorporating that while I'm. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I guess that's why women can have orgasms from their nipples too. I guess because it's kind of like stimulating the clit through proxy in a sense or whatever.
Yeah. Other tips you can give women to give their men better blowjobs.
Watch the way he masturbates. That's probably like the number one right there. Watch the way that he masturbates, and especially like when he's about to finish, what spots he stimulates there. Pay attention to the spots that he uses. If he edges, pay attention to the spots that he uses to cool down. because that's the thing that I when a woman is like doing that shit, and because I like to edge, so you know, for a woman, most guys, I guess they just want to they want to just go over the edge. I don't even necessarily want to come. I want to prolong that shit as long as possible. It's going to feel much better that way, and it also keeps me.
Yeah, you disciplined though. Your ass be you be trying to get through a 45-minute video. Like, wait, I was just hold. But I get it though, because you're right. It's a fuller when you really take your time. Like even one time when I had a new room massage, well, when I was in, I guess Atlanta kind of turned my freak out in a way, but
okay,
at a new room massage, and even when she finally finished, because she edged me, she finally finished. I'm gonna say it's probably hour and a half, 2 hours.
Damn.
Yeah, including a full body massage too, though. But
okay.
By the time I came, I was like, damn, I didn't know there was that much in there.
Yeah.
So some to that.
You see what I'm saying? So it's much better. So women have a problem with kind of knowing what to do in that moment. But I feel like if they would have watched me do it, then they would know what to do, you know, because they would know like pretty much how to cool off without really stopping in a sense, you know, so it could kind of keep me there without it really having to die down too much. But I will say that when I run into women that have watched my tutorial, it's been amazing. It's like I'm blessing myself. You know what I mean? It's been amazing when they follow the steps. It's been some of the best experiences that I ever had, because I think a hand job is more intimate than anything. You know,
it is, especially if she's affirming you and talking to you too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
definitely. Now, I don't think you've done it in any of your videos, but of course, some men or some women, well, some men, we focus on that for now, like to include the prostate stimulation in addition to hand jobs, blow jobs, or whatever. So for that, where do you recommend people start? Just like with a little, no, because they have the prostate massages or whatever, or fingers, or what do you recommend?
I honestly, I have no experience with that. I would have to assume that it's similar with a woman. So go slow, get consent, because I would hate for a woman to just be like, I know he's gonna like this, and just do that shit. I'm gonna have to fight you. I don't care. I'm gonna have to fight you. So go slow, get consent, you know. And if I would say to a guy, make sure it's with somebody that you trust, somebody that's not going to try to like use that shit against you later or something like that. You know
That's why I was fingering your ass, nigga. Yo,
exactly. They already do it when you eat their ass and shit. Like,
yeah, right. I mean, it's like you let me do it. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, make sure it's a real safe space. You know, a safe space to take all necessary precautions. All necessary precautions with that, because I don't know if I know it could be dangerous. Like with the woman, if you don't do it right, it could fuck her up. You know, fuck her, what she does as far as fuck her, what is it called? Like her movements, you know, her bowel.
Okay.
Yeah, it could fuck her up. So I would say make sure it's with somebody that's going to listen to you, somebody that's like, I guess like somebody that's not trying to dominate you in a sense. That's the best way I could put it. Because you don't want a woman that's just trying to do that shit to stroke her ego. I don't think that'd be a good safe place. Because I've heard women talk about that shit in a very, to me, it sounds scary. You know, it don't sound like a safe place. You know, it sounds like they're trying to like get their nigga out, you know, in that moment.
Yeah, so, almost like penis envy, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that would be the perfect word. That's what it sounds like when I hear a lot of women talk about that shit. So I would say make sure it's a safe place, somebody that you really, really trust. And yeah, you know, have at it.
Have at it, have fun. I will say, my boy 4, he's into that, like with the pegging and stuff.
From Black Ink?
Yeah.
Okay. I seen it going on around Instagram and stuff like that. So
you know, he breaks the internet every time he fucking do anything.
I see. I see.
He breaks the internet. But yeah, you definitely got to be careful. If you guys even go to like a sex toy shop, they actually, for anal play, they have like beginner, middle, advanced, and then some stuff y'all put up y'all ass. I don't know how it fit. I don't understand, but God bless. But
yeah, I've seen fists.
Fists, they got this one thing now where I guess it's a machine with the big ass thing, and it's like a jackhammer. No.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, God bless. Anyway.
Wow. Okay. All right.
But anyway, moving right along. How important is foreplay to the sexual experience for a woman?
You said for a man?
Oh, for a woman.
For a woman, okay. Well, kind of find out it's like everything. I think that a lot of times when you don't put yourself in someone else's shoes, and a lot, it's like through ignorance really that you wouldn't even consider to put yourself in their shoes that way. But for men, we are visually stimulated, so the visual aspect a lot of times is the foreplay for us. You know, we see something visually, we like it, we are ready to have sex with it. For a woman, it's a bit different. She can visually see it, because it's like you have to understand that for most women, they can see a man that they're totally, that's their type. You know, everything can be perfect, but that doesn't mean that she can anticipate the sex is good. You know what I'm saying? So those two things don't always correlate. Or she could be, maybe if she's having like a really good stimulating conversation, that might get her there. You know, she might be ready to go right after that conversation. But for the most part, it's just you're trying to make sure that her body and her mind are connected in that aspect. So that's really what the foreplay is for, is to make sure that she's residing in her body. Because if not, and you're going in cold, then the way things feel, you know, the way the vagina feels for her when you're hitting it and it's not warmed up feels totally different than it does for you. So the expectations and the thoughts that she's having in that moment aren't in sync with yours. You know, her thoughts might be, wow, he could have at least ate me out first, or I ain't even get a kiss or something like that. That could be where her mind is at, as opposed to her being on the edge of wanting the dick. Like, wow, when is he going to put it in? You know, because that's what foreplay will have her. It'll have her body almost magnetized.
Begging for it.
Yeah. And that's a much, much better place to be. It's a lot less work for you as a man also. So it's a much better place to be when you're wanting to give your best performance at least. So
now let's flip back to give advice for men. Now, how would you recommend men like properly give oral to a woman? Like, are we focusing on the clit? You know, we're just licking all around, because some dude, they just lick all around. Like,
right.
Where should they focus?
I used to be one of those lickers all arounds and not knowing that all that stuff isn't as sensitive as the clit. You know, I didn't know that the clit was the center of attention. I didn't know that at first. And then I sought information and found that out. But the clit is basically the best way to break it down, and this could make some men feel a little uncomfortable, but the easiest way to understand it is that the clit is like a little penis. So the same way that, you know, a woman would stimulate your penis is pretty much the same way you would stimulate her clit. You know, not hard. Well, the pressure and all the suction, all that stuff, it all depends on the woman's preference. But for the most part, it's not really about sucking it like a straw. It's more so about pushing it out with your mouth, like pinching it with your mouth, like with your lip and your tongue and your lip. It's like pinching it out, going down on it, and then pinching it out. That's the best way I could describe it. That's kind of like
visualize that. I can visualize that. Okay.
But, you know, and it becomes a bit more intuitive as you do it and you practice and get a little more experience with it. You kind of figure out like, oh, okay, this is what you're doing, and you figure out, oh, okay, it's this little tip at the end of it that you're really stimulating, and how to do that and stuff kind of comes with the experience pretty much. But that's really what it is. Doing it that way. When I tell men, you know, you're supposed to suck on the clit, women be like, I don't like sucking, but it's not sucking as if it's like a vacuum, the suction like that. That's not really what I mean. It's just the process of understanding that you have to kind of go with like a wet surface going down on it and then coming up on it like that and creating some type of pressure as you're doing that. The same way like the womanizer toy or even the rose would do in a sense. But
because that's literally what you fucking right.
Yes, but it's much better because it's warm, it's wet, and you can close it on both sides as opposed to just sticking it on there with the suction and the vibration and stuff. So women have literally said, like, that feels like my rose. Like, I've had women literally say that, you know. So to me, that's been the best way. Some women are super duper sensitive. So like I said, the amount of pressure and the amount of touch, the emotions are always the same, but the amount of pressure and the amount of touch just vary. If she's very, very sensitive, you just do it really, really light. If she's not very sensitive, then you press down and you pretty much sucking like it's a straw and shit. So then that's when that process comes in, where you're doing it a bit more aggressively. And then don't forget, you know, add a finger into the G spot there, especially as you hear it climbing. I never like to start with that. I like to throw it in there as a surprise or whatever. So not like throw it in there, but you know what I mean? Like,
so don't start with the finger.
Huh?
Don't start with the finger.
No, I don't like to start with the finger because I like to like build the what is it, the arousal and the pleasure. I like to build it up. Gotcha. So the, you know, because sometimes the sensations, they can die down a little bit. So I like to throw it in there at certain times. So if I feel like the woman is like already getting close to coming, like that's where her moans and stuff dictate, then I like to then throw in the finger and then hit that spot. And it just is like a crazy shot, you know. And sometimes if it feels like she's stagnant during oral, I'll do the same thing, you know.
Got it. So you're literally creating waves of pleasure. Makes sense. Makes sense. So I like the way you broke that down, even with the clitoris, because like I tell people, the male and female reproductive system, as well as the sexual organs, are homologous to one another, which just means they're made of the same material. So we have a penis, they have a clitoris. Our penis actually came with a hood before it got cut off. They have a clitoral hood. You know what I mean? So,
and the male prostate is the same thing as the woman's A spot.
Boom. There you go. We have testicles, they have ovaries.
Yeah.
Like, y'all use your brains, people. Use your brains. Low key, by the way, too. I was circumcised. I feel like sex would probably be that much more better if I still had. Like, why my parents have to do that? Like, who told them to go do that shit?
Nah, I feel you on that because sometimes I feel the same way, but the amount of women that are glad that I'm circumcised, that makes me feel much better about it. And if I wasn't, I'd probably be like 3 strokes and done out here, man. It'd be way too sensitive, because that's what they say, it gets too sensitive.
That's a good point too. Okay, I'll look at it that way, because when I heard like it was millions of nerve endings in that motherfucker, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I was hurt too.
I'm like, damn, I got butchered. Like,
right? Yeah, I was hurt too. So yeah.
Good Lord. Another thing I noticed is that, you know, you focus on certain positions, sure that the woman actually has an orgasm and that you're able to hit certain spots. One of your most infamous ones, of course, is the putting her on the edge of the bed.
Yeah.
So we know the edge of the bed thing, we get that, but I wanted you to speak to a man and a woman's flexibility, because I believe the more flexible we are, the better we can hit certain spots.
Yeah, most definitely. A lot of people suffer from bad lower backs, and that can be very inhibiting. And the best thing that I would say, because I used to like have a like pain in my lower back too, right? I just thought it just comes with age or whatever, and then you do all these other stretches, you do back stretches and stuff like that. They don't necessarily help that problem. When it comes to that part specifically, you really want to stretch your groin. In order to loosen your back, you want to stretch your groin. Your groin, your hip flexors and stuff like that. And you'll notice it if you just do a quick hip flexor stretch. If you have any lower back pain, do a quick hip flexor stretch, and when you stand up, you're gonna feel relief in your back. It's counterintuitive, but that really, really works. So you need to keep that spot open, loose, and flowing, because, you know, in order to do the motions, you need to kind of be snake-like with the back and whatnot. So you want to keep that stuff open, or else it'll just get tighter and tighter and tighter. And I mean, it's
hard. It'll be hard.
You know what I mean? So it's been moves that I've done, and I'm like, woo. If I hadn't stretched that one right there, you know, so I think about like, ooh, man, I could only imagine if I hadn't found out about the hip flexors stretching and all that type of stuff. But definitely, you want to stretch that groin, keep that shit open, because that's really your lifeline when it comes to that.
It really is, and I want to say especially, you know, I always joke like, you know, keep it loose like a Jamaican, because I just noticed when them Caribbean people be fucked, they just be like just limber as.
Oh, for real.
Shout out to my Jamaicans. I don't want no emails, but y'all are very limber. But a lot of people don't know, because we live in the United States, even the way like our toilets are set up, we don't even use the bathroom properly. Versus other countries where you literally squat to the ground.
Yeah.
Like the way you're supposed to go. So keep your hip flexors open. It will change your life. It will change your life. It will change your life. It really will. What's your diet like?
Well, I put it like this. I try to eat like a person that's on like Naked and Afraid or the show Alone.
Okay.
So I eat scarcely, but I try to eat some proteins every now and then. So like I'm not like a vegetarian or a vegan, but I'm not meat dominant when I eat. You know, so I'll eat like they'll eat. Like, so the most of the times where I don't eat a bunch of meat, I'll eat like cashews and bananas. You know what I mean? I'll eat like a rice dish or something like that. And then if I ever start to get to the place where I'm feeling famished, then I kind of try to eat a bigger meal. And I do all that just because one, the digestive tract has a limited amount of resources, so you don't want to overwhelm it. Part of eating, people will eat to gain energy, but then they eat so much that the body has to use a lot of energy to make them digest.
You sleepy as fuck. Honestly, exactly. You be sleepy as fuck. Yeah. Yeah. Or you at the damn swingers club and you got a shit, and that's not cute. It's not sexy at all.
That as well. So yeah, so I try to eat light, try to eat things that are clean, that make me feel good when I eat them. Currently, I'm on a 23-and-1 fast. So I only eat like 1 hour a day or whatever to drop some quick pounds or whatever, and to reset the system and how it does all those things. So I try to eat like those people on those shows, because they're a lot closer to how you would eat without society and all that stuff. They hunt for their food. They have to clean their water. There's always a delayed time in between when they can be hungry and eat and stuff like that, you know. So I try to.
Which is why you have quality erections. Got it.
I will say two things, man. When I started, like years and years ago, I used to be kind of like a fruitarian, right? I just mostly ate fruit and cashews and peanuts and stuff like that. And I noticed that when I felt hungry, there was a sense of feeling alive as well, that I hadn't noticed I had kind of been pacifying. So I've noticed that when I'm hungry and when I do like semen retention or I'm horny, both of those things make me feel alive in a way that being satisfied doesn't necessarily do. So I do lean to those, especially when it comes to wanting to be more productive and stuff like that. So,
and then let's keep it real too. If you're gonna be shooting loads in the lady's mouth, you want it to taste good for her too. So, you know.
Also,
just saying.
Definitely.
Because I was gonna ask you, are you naturally slim or do you work out? But you, like you say, but you eat healthy, so it makes sense.
Yeah, it's the diet. It's a diet for sure. When I in my 20s, just recently, I had a little injury and whatnot, so I probably gained about 20, 30 pounds during that time. I just slimmed down from that, you know what I mean? So,
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. All right, man. I don't want to hold you too long, so just to wrap up, a couple is going out. They know they want to smash that night. How should the man lead the night so that, you know, she's ready, she's prime and ready by the time they get back?
He should definitely be painting a picture in her mind throughout the day through text messages. Like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like sexual, like I'm gonna tear it up tonight or whatever, but understanding that the things that kind of trigger a woman in that sense can just be the normal romantic things, or just small gestures, or letting her know that you thought about her and stuff like that. If you understand the things that make her feel like a woman, If it's like feeling small and dainty or whatever, you would do those things. Like if it's grabbing her tight randomly or smacking her ass randomly, things like that, you want to make sure you throwing that stuff in throughout the night. And if you're going out and you're planning on having sex later, if you're trying to spark that mood, you want to always treat her like you're dating, like it's at the very beginning. So the way that you would talk to her when y'all first started dating, the things you would do, you know, to impress her, to make a good impression, just to make her feel that way. However old she is, or whatever her age is, typically you want to make her feel younger. So those things do that, you know, like there's certain things a woman can do for a man that make you feel like a young guy again. It makes you feel like, damn, I'm still that nigga or whatever. That's, you want to give her that same feeling, you know, not, it's like, yeah, I love you in a whole different way than when I first met you. But at the same time, she still wants you to see her that way. So you want to kind of do things that trigger that feeling in her before you get to the bed or whatever, you know. And it's always good to be vulnerable and let her know exactly how you feel. That's a great type of foreplay. Let her know exactly how you feel in the most detail as possible. Like that would be good to do in a car ride on the way home, you know. So stuff like that.
I gotta up my talking game. It's all about it's for women. It is literally all about how you make them feel. That is true.
Yeah.
Damn, my man, 100 Days of Summer, Stroke Genius. We will meet again because I definitely want to do like I don't know how we'll do that on YouTube, but we'll figure that out later. Kind of demonstration, but tell the people where they can find you.
Okay. I'm on Instagram as 100 Days of Summer and The Stroke Genius. I'm on YouTube as 100 Days of Summer and The Stroke Genius. I'm on Twitter as you have to look up 100 Days of Summer to find the Stroke Genius page because Twitter doesn't let you search it. I'm on OnlyFans and Loyal Fans as the Stroke Genius. And so on Twitter is where you can go to see previews. If you don't believe what I'm talking about, you can see clips for yourself and see it actually demonstrated. And Loyal Fans is where you see the longer version of the content as well as more of the step-by-step tutorials and stuff like that.
Amen. Oh shit! Hold on. Before you go, I had one final question for you. Okay, no, two final questions, real quick. Squirting, is that piss or no, or is it kind of piss? Is it somewhat piss? Can we end this age-old debate? Not that I mind. Squirt all over me, squirt in my face, my mouth. I don't care. But is it piss? We just want to know.
It is definitely urine. That's what I'll say. Okay. It does come from the bladder. It comes from sexual stimulation, though. So for some reason, when you're stimulating the G-spot, or like when I said that little hook part, like when you start to stimulate this spot right here past that little hook, for some reason, it makes it fill up. Same thing with the A-spot, too. And for some reason, it makes the bladder fill up with liquid. And it fills very quickly. And then if you stop, it goes away. And then you can fill it back up again. And when you stop, it can go away. So it's directly attached to sexual stimulation, not necessarily waste management. You know what I mean? So,
gotcha.
So it doesn't, when it's a clean, fresh bladder, it doesn't come out smelling like strong piss. Sometimes it can smell sweet. It smelled like syrup sometimes, like pancake syrup. You know, it can smell sweet. So it depends. Like if the woman, because the bladder is filling up and emptying all throughout the day. So if the woman has some urine, some piss in her bladder, when you go to make her squirt, that's all coming out. So that could have stronger piss in it. You know what I mean? But for the most part, squirt is urine, but it accompanies the sexual stimulation. So, you know.
Now, okay. Which I don't mind either way.
I don't mind it either.
Now, with the creamers, because visually that shit's sexy as hell.
It is.
What exactly is that? Because I've heard some ladies say, "Oh, that bitch got a yeast infection," and I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, that is a sign of yeast infection at times. That based on the woman, they'll say it's really about the consistency. If it's like clumpy, more like a cottagey, cheesy type of thing.
When Krishan was fucking Blueface on Twitter, so that was a yeast infection. Okay, got it.
Oh damn! I only heard it, and I'm not gonna lie. In that moment, I understood Blueface. In that moment, I got it. but I didn't get to see it. But so okay, so you're saying that it was a bit different. Now I know also if a woman gets creamy and then the mood slightly changes for her, she's no longer letting out cream, is going to start to dry up and it's going to change consistency as well. So I think that at the end of the day, typically I think the yeast infection has an odor to it as well. So I'm not really sure on that one. I know that whenever I go to make a woman squirt, especially when I'm doing the like that, it always starts off creamy as fuck. And then when the squirt starts in, it washes it all out, you know, and then so it comes out looking like milky white and creamy at the beginning always, and then it clears it out. Well, it'll start off super clear and
like yeah.
Yep. And then it'll come with the creamy stuff, and then it comes with the squirt. So I feel like it's just a natural part of the process of a woman being aroused, you know.
Got it. I wonder if it's a sign sometimes of ovulation too.
Say it again.
I wonder if it's a sign of ovulation sometimes too.
Oh yeah, I have heard that because during the fertile time, the vagina gets more mucousy because the semen lives better in that environment. So that makes sense too. Yeah, I've heard that. That's a perfect sign if a woman is very wet and white and creamy in there during that time.
Yeah, I learned a lot, man. I'm gonna definitely have to bring you back because I know people gonna want to ask questions.
Okay.
It's Storm Show. It's Storm Show.